Live from the Inland Northwest News Leader, Jay Allen, Peggy Hansen, and Laura Ashley. This is KREM 2 News.
Good afternoon. Here's the latest news. Inland Northwest groups seeking an end to U.S. military aid to El Salvador are trying to ignite a flame under House Speaker Tom Foley.
They have taken out a full-page ad in the New York Times to bring national attention to Foley's home district.
The Coalition for Central America is calling for the Speaker of the House to lead congressional efforts on negotiating a settlement between the Salvadorian government and opposition groups.
And with us today in the KREM 2 newsroom is Eric Debody, a member of the Coalition for Central America. Welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
First of all, can you tell me a little bit about your organization?
Well, we're made up of over 200 members in the Moscow-Pullman area, Spokane, Colfax, and Pocatello, and we have up to about 1,000 members loosely affiliated.
What do you hope to accomplish with this full-page ad?
We'd like to demonstrate to the Speaker that a very diverse cross-section of his constituency would like him to change U.S. foreign policy towards El Salvador. In the past, he's tended to be moderate and very supportive of the U.S. policy, which has sent over $3.5 billion in aid to El Salvador since 1980. Currently, President Bush is seeking to send about $88 million in the upcoming bill to El Salvador in military aid. And we would like Foley to know that a lot of his constituents would support him and want him to oppose that move. What we would like to see is a cut in U.S. aid to El Salvador.
Now, Foley says that he's already on your side, so why do you want to target him?
We've met with Foley a couple of times, and we've met with his aides several times. We want to continue to be putting pressure on him. When we met with him in February, he asked us to comment on a bill or an amendment which would cut aid and condition more aid on a reduced human rights violations and negotiations between the FMLN guerrillas and the Arena government. However, that bill did not get introduced into Congress, and now Secretary of State Baker is going to be meeting with Congress tomorrow when they resume after the Easter break and trying to get congressional support for increased aid. Foley has said that he is interested in a peaceful settlement. However, he's not interested in cutting aid. He doesn't think that he can obtain enough bipartisan support for such a move. But we would really like him to act strongly in opposing sending more military aid to El Salvador.
All right. Thank you. That's Eric Debody live in our newsroom. He is a member of the Coalition for Central America. Thanks, Eric.
In other news this afternoon, the little boy who was trapped beneath a tractor last week is getting better. According to officials at Deaconess Medical Center, Daniel Valeri's condition has been upgraded from critical to serious but stable. You'll recall the 19-month-old boy was pinned underneath a tractor on his family farm on Thursday. His mother, a registered nurse, revived him until Lifebird helicopter arrived. He remains at the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit at Deaconess.
A Post Falls man is dead following a plane crash near Moscow, Idaho yesterday. Latah County Sheriff's officials say the ultralight aircraft went down in a field near Highway 95. 54-year-old Van Solomon Benham was pronounced dead at Gritman Memorial Hospital shortly after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. An investigator from the Federal Aviation Administration will inspect the wreckage later on today.
Well, Boise police are investigating the death of an 11-year-old boy today. Timothy Merritt was found hanging from a swing set in the yard of his home yesterday afternoon. He was found with a rope around his neck, which was tied to the crossbar of the swing set. Merritt's mother and a neighbor attempted to resuscitate the youth without success. Boise police and the Ada County coroner are investigating Merritt's death and will not have a ruling on it until tomorrow.
Officials in Montana are scrambling to keep a fuel leak from causing environmental damage. The fuel is coming from a fallout shelter belonging to the Church Universal and Triumphant. An estimated 19,000 gallons of gasoline and diesel fuel have leaked from the shelter near Yellowstone National Park. Officials say some fuel has reached a nearby creek while some has been recovered. A long-term cleanup effort is planned.
Meantime, the Washington Department of Ecology is trying to find out what killed thousands of salmon in a creek near Issaquah over the weekend. Several thousand coho salmon fingerlings were found dead in Jordan Creek. They apparently swam up the creek after 1 million coho were released from a state hatchery into Issaquah Creek. In other news this afternoon, skinheads are on their way to North Idaho for the second annual Aryan Youth Conference that's coming up this weekend. The gathering comes just 1 week after final approval of a law making Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a state holiday. The press and the public are not invited to the Congress. Spokesman Steve Nelson says the white supremacists want to keep a low profile and won't hold a news conference like last year. He says if anyone enters the compound without their permission, police will be called.
Well, the Soviet Union so far has not cut off supplies to Lithuania despite the republic's refusal to renounce its independence.
Lithuanian leaders are discussing ways to cope with the Kremlin's threatened economic boycott. The republic depends on the Soviet Union for most of its oil, gas, and electricity, but the Soviets also depend on some things made in Lithuania, so the war of words continues.
African National Congress leader Nelson Mandela will have an audience of up to 1 billion people today. He is in London for an anti-apartheid rock concert at Wembley Stadium. Dozens of rock stars will take the stage. The concert and Mandela's talk will be shown live via satellite to 26 nations around the world.
Legendary movie star Greta Garbo is dead. The screen goddess who made popular the phrase, "I want to be alone," and turned her back on the glitter of Hollywood for a life of seclusion, died at a New York City hospital last night. The Swedish-born star began her career in silent movies and then reigned as movie queen throughout the 30s and 40s. She was rated by many critics as the finest screen star of all time. Greta Garbo dead at age 84.
Fiery lava from Hawaii's Kilauea volcano continues to flow and destroy. Yesterday, lava claimed its 80th home. The house in a rural community about 200 miles from Honolulu burned up after the slow-moving molten rock reached it. Nobody was injured. The homeowners had evacuated last week. So far, Kilauea has caused more than $20 million in damage.
Laura joins us now. Around here, the weather word is windy.
Yeah, it is very windy. We're right in between two systems, cold air that's sweeping down through the northern plains and warm air coming up from the southwest.
So, but it's still rather warm.
It is warm, and it's at least sunny outside, so we're enjoying some sunshine around the inland northwest, but the winds are kicking up here in the Spokane area. Currently outside, the temperature is at actually 58 degrees at KREM 2, and our winds are northeast at 10, but they've been gusting upwards of 20 miles an hour. When I took the recording, we were only at 10, but I've seen it throughout the morning, gusting upwards of that 20 and 25-mile-an-hour range. Barometer is holding steady at a perfect 30, and our humidity stands at 29%. Looking at our current temperatures and stuff, we had our overnight low down to 42. Yesterday, we were up to 68, and we'll be even warmer on this Monday. Record high was 83 back in 1936, and our sun is now setting at 7:41. Well, across the nation and much throughout the northwest is being affected by a cold front that is moving down across the northern tier states. As it does, it's kicking up some snow, in fact, through western Montana down into Wyoming. So far, accumulations have been light, if not at all. It's been melting as soon as it hits the ground. But what it effectively does is we have that cold air that comes down. We have this very warm air that is coming up from California and through the desert southwest. The two are meeting in the middle, and we're seeing the gusty winds because the two systems don't like to meet in the middle. And then we also have a little bit of snow to the east of us. We have the sunshine still here and the warm temperatures that will be coming up out of the southwest. As you look, though, along the coastal areas, there is a disturbance down in California that is sending clouds all the way up into the Puget Sound. But elsewhere, we'll see thunder showers and more moisture moving across the deserts all the way up into eastern Oregon and eastern Washington by tomorrow. The other thing that is happening is we're seeing some blowing dust down in southern Idaho, so they're having some problems there. Advisories out for travelers. Currently in Seattle, it is 55, 60 as we come here into officially out of the airport, and it is 51 in Kalispell. The forecast for eastern Washington is calling for mostly sunny skies with temperatures up into the 80s to the south. Northern Idaho is right in the middle of these two storms, so we have partly cloudy skies there and some gusty winds, but temperatures will still be up into the upper 60s. British Columbia will be sunny as well as Alberta, but into western Montana there is still some mountain snow and a few showers, especially in southwestern Montana, and winds there are upwards of 45 miles an hour because they're coming right down across the Rockies. So it's